Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's Tuesday, June 11th, 2019. We are entering the long dredge of summer. Mini camps just opened and closed in like a week span. And my name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right
What's
across
up?
from me. And yeah, we are we're currently 73 degrees outside. It's not bad.
Well, so this is awful. So what you're saying is we actually have to enjoy summer and not watch football?
Yeah, no, I don't know if I can do that. I literally am counting the weeks down. I think it's 12 Sundays left.
So everybody's at the beach and having like barbecues.
And I'm just sitting in my freaking house with the AC on, staring at the calendar, hoping it gets to September 9th or whatever the hell they
like a little spreadsheet.
Yeah.
1 day closer. One hour closer.
1 day closer. We are excited to bring you our sleepers on the next few episodes. This is a very exciting series, especially for me because I've been thinking about sleepers for 2 months now. So these are guys that are going to be maybe not major breakouts, not huge breakouts, but they're going to be guys that you'll be able to grab late in drafts and could be valuable assets to your team, i.e. Sony Michel from last year.
Yep.
Didn't finish as an RB1, but he was a solid flex in most leagues. On today's episode, we're going to bring you the QB sleepers, our QB sleepers for 2019. We agree on some, we disagree on some. But first, before we get into the main portion of this episode, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, at the FF Champs on Twitter, and at the Fantasy Champions on Instagram. Go on Facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions to like us over there. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Make sure when you're on YouTube, click the bell, subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and tell everyone about this podcast. Except for the people in your league, but
Yeah,
you should
don't tell them.
Probably tell them too, so you can destroy them anyway.
Yeah, give them the knowledge and still destroy them.
Give them the knowledge and still destroy them. Let's get to the news before we move into our main segment. It's been an interesting week. There wasn't much news up until like Monday.
Yeah, get used to that.
But then we had like a flow of information come in, I guess. Tyreek Hill over the weekend, it was discovered that there is no active investigation and that the Chiefs are going to allow him to participate in training camp. So he's no longer suspended by the Chiefs or whatever. Now, I am anxiously waiting because I currently don't have him ranked at wide receiver.
I don't either.
I'm waiting for the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL to drop their... before I project him statistically, I'm waiting for them to drop their decision on whether or not he's going to be suspended. It is likely that he's going to be suspended, considering that he has a history with it. So don't think that he's going to have a free reign because he got off in court.
Right.
When does the NFL ever care about court?
Yeah, seriously.
So I could expect maybe an 8 to 10 game suspension, similar to Kareem Hunt.
Okay.
That's a lot, but it might also be 6, similar to. There's no.
You have no like.
Have
it's
no
just
idea.
a guess.
It's a guess.
NFL.
6 to 10 games would be my guess. If that's the case, then he is going to play this year, which means you should probably temper your excitement on guys like Mecole Hardman and Sammy Watkins. I currently in mock drafts are staying away from those guys, not because I don't believe that they can be a success in the Chiefs' offense, but because the chance of Tyreek Hill returning is rather decent. So I don't want to take a risk on. Like I think Sammy Watkins is going in the 5th or 6th round right now. I don't want to draft a guy that's just like last year. I had him on my team and I drafted him in like the 12th round, and it's like he didn't help my team at all. Yeah. So it's like it's not.
But I mean, if Tyreek Hill isn't there, then Sammy Watkins becomes probably like a 4th round pick, honestly.
But he's also been a guy like every time I look at him, I'm like, he seems like a player that would be solid for you to draft. But then at the same time, when I look at him, I keep thinking about the constant injury problems that he has.
Yeah.
And it just leads me to believe that Sammy Watkins is just going to be a guy that people draft thinking is going to be really good. I'd honestly rather take Mecole Hardman in like the 14th round than take Sammy Watkins.
I don't know about that, but
I don't think he's going to be good this year. I mean, I don't want to. I think he's like speaking of sleepers, a deep sleeper. He's a guy that you draft that gives you a couple of good games this year, but I'd rather have him than Watkins, to be honest with you.
Okay. I wouldn't, but
he's like, I wouldn't. Bilal Powell signed with the New York Jets. I saw this over the weekend. He had some kind of like back injury, and they didn't re-sign him. And then I guess he came in for a workout, and they liked how it doesn't make any sense. This signing makes no sense at all. This is Adam Gase at his finest. They have 4 running backs on the roster already.
They do?
Yes.
Oh boy.
They might have more. They probably have more than that, considering that it's the off season, and they probably signed a bunch of undrafted free agents.
Some guys, though.
I don't know if Bilal Powell will even make the team. We'll see what happens. I don't have him ranked either.
If you're a fan of Le'Veon Bell, let's hope he doesn't make the team.
Yeah.
Wait, you don't have Powell ranked, dude?
No.
Whoa.
Scary.
He's like number 6 on my board.
Carson Wentz signed a 4-year, $128 million deal. Not sure if I feel good about this. On one hand, it's a great situation for you to look at fantasy-wise because it's like, okay, they believe in him. They don't think his back injury is a problem. He's good. But then on the other side of it, you look at it and you go, oh, God, he just got paid 4 years, $128 million. That never works out for anyone. So he does have a good team this year. I mean, he has opportunity out the wazoo. I do like Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is my man's.
Yes.
So it's interesting to see how that's going to pan out. But it does show you that the Eagles are not concerned about him at all.
Yeah. I think also letting Nick Foles go with the addition of this news kind of reassures that.
Right. Cam Newton threw at minicamp today. They live streamed it on the Carolina Panthers Facebook page, or not, Twitter page, I should say.
Guys, look, he can still throw the football.
I watched like 5 seconds of it and got bored. I was trying to see if he could throw. He was throwing from 5 feet away, so I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure anymore. But he is throwing at minicamp, which is good. That's a good little sign. A lot of people are really concerned about Cam Newton being able to throw the football. When I talk about my boys Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, people are like, oh my God, is Cam Newton going to be able to throw it? Well, you don't have that concern when you're drafting Christian McCaffrey 4, so...
Yeah, but Cam Newton is already he's already proven in this live stream that he can throw from 5 feet away, so that doesn't hurt Christian McCaffrey, dude.
Yeah, that's true.
We all know all of his catches are from 5 feet away.
That's true. According to the Eagles' assistant head coach, the Eagles will run a committee backfield this year. So there goes all that Miles Sanders hype that I was feeling.
And anybody who had any slight hope for Jordan Howard.
People were, holding out hope for Jordan Howard. I honestly think they'll start as a committee and then somebody will just...
I don't know. The Eagles kind of have a history of using multiple backs.
Yeah. That's stupid.
That's the modern NFL. Stupid for fantasy.
Yeah.
But
the modern NFL. Kyle Rudolph signed a contract extension for the Vikings, 4 years, $36 million. I was kind of hoping he would be traded to the Pats for fandom reasons and for fantasy football reasons.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen now. And Giants head coach, this is interesting, Pat Shurmur, said Daniel Jones could start week 1. So he said there's an active quarterback competition between him and
He won't. Yeah, I don't think
Eli
he will,
Manning.
But
the funny thing is the common conception among all scouts in the NFL this year was that Daniel Jones couldn't throw the football and he wasn't a good quarterback. So if he wins the job, he's going to throw like 10 picks in the first game. And in comes Eli Manning to save the season.
Wow. Imagine being in New York. No, I'm not going to go there. I've already hated enough on Eli. In the last,
no, you can hate on
shows.
the Giants all you want.
Is it personal?
Because it's a little bit personal.
Patriots fans, but gosh, man, Eli blows. Yeah. Okay, I'm good.
He's not that bad. I don't want to be one of those guys. Like, there's a bunch of fantasy experts out there that are like, oh, Eli's not that bad, guys. I hate to be that guy.
You are that guy.
I am that guy. He's He's not. I mean, he's not good in fantasy, but he's not a terrible quarterback. He won 2 Super Bowls.
No, 10 years ago he was a good quarterback.
Wow. He's like, I sense the rage internally in you.
It is. It's deep down, but it's there.
Let's move to our main segment, QB sleepers. Sleepers are so important to constructing a successful fantasy team because if you hit on some of these guys, it really changes your roster. These, like, you get to those late rounds in the draft, you don't really expect your late round picks to turn into anything.
No.
But if you wisely invest your time in doing research and coming up with information on players that you may or may not draft, you'll hit on certain players. And if you do,
gives you a big edge.
It gives you a big edge on people, especially if you're drafting them instead of picking them up off the waiver wire weeks 1, 2, and 3 when they break out. One thing that I like to do is when you're looking for guys later in the draft is find the guy that could do that breakout in the first month instead of somebody that might break out later in the season. Like rookie wide receivers are they're classic for this. First 7, 8, 9 weeks of the season, they just suck, and then all of a sudden, the last 5 or 6, they're really, really good.
Yep.
And they show like, oh, we're actually a really. What just happened? I just dropped a paper.
Yeah,
on the
just
floor.
a piece of paper just fell.
But so it's really important to draft sleepers and draft guys that you think are sleepers, and to do that research. I like to use multiple sources to get from other fantasy experts to kind of guide you in that decision making, because sometimes they catch things that you don't.
Yeah.
So let's get started with our QB sleepers for 2019, and I'll start with my boy, Jameis Winston.
Oh, yep, your boy.
Now, I don't know if you agree on this guy, but I love Jameis Winston. He's one of those players that has been kind of low-key bad in real life. High-key bad in real life. And then, like, really good in fantasy. And so there were certain... He was suspended for the first 4 games of last year, and that's why he didn't start the season. A lot of people do forget that. After that point... Like within 2 quarters of him coming...
After Fitzmagic.
Yeah, after Fitzmagic threw like 1 pick in the first half of this first game actually back.
Didn't he throw like 5, actually?
No idea. But after he came back, he was really good. Now, when both quarterbacks were generally, outside of the interceptions, they were generally decent in the Tampa Bay offense because they threw the lights out like every single week.
Yeah.
It was like run it 5 times, pass it.
They had
100.
no running game whatsoever.
They have no running game whatsoever. The interesting thing that I saw about Jameis Winston is that later in the season, so, obviously he played weeks 4, 5, and 6, and over the course of those, and 7, over the course of those weeks, he threw 10 interceptions in 4 weeks, starting.
Oh, wow.
Actually, 5, 6, and 7 is when he started. 4, he came in replacement and still threw 2 picks. And then, so when he came in and started from week 11 all the way down to 16, so games 11 to 16 for him, he threw 3 interceptions, 10 touchdowns, 1,612 yards, and his completion percentage was 63%. Now, if you were to prorate that on a per 16 game basis, he would have the same 64% completion percentage, 363 completions, and 4,299 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, which is a 97 quarterback rating. Which is, that's pretty good. And if you turn that into fantasy numbers in some realm of possibility, I'm not going to even begin to try to think about it. But that is a decent fantasy season. You compile that with his rushing numbers. He would probably have about 450 to 500 rushing yards. Yeah. You put that on top of that with, maybe 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns. All of a sudden, this guy becomes 300 fantasy point, 315 fantasy point quarterback, which is a top 5 finish in fantasy football. So I really like the last couple games of last year. He's in a better offense with Bruce Arians. They might not throw it as much as they did last year. I think that's one thing to note that a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Bruce Arians loves to throw the football." He does, but
last year
what Dirk Cutter did last year throwing the football was crazy. So I wouldn't expect that. If he does hit 580 to 590 attempts. He could definitely be a guy that breaks out this year. He's one of my sleepers / breakouts. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like him and Josh Allen are kind of on that edge for me where they could break out into that top 5 quarterback realm. We know that the top 10 for quarterback changes every single year with the exception of 2 or 3 guys. So I think for me, Jameis Winston steps into that conversation. I think if you're talking about sleeper quarterbacks, you're talking about guys that can break out, have a really good season. And I think he's safe to pick in round 12, 13. No one's thinking about him. And those numbers there from week 11 to 17, that makes me feel really good. He was QB 6 over those weeks.
Yes.
So I think for me, he's a guy that I'm definitely drafting late in drafts. And if he's on the board 12th, 13th, you're striking gold, honestly. So in my opinion,
yeah, I mean, I don't. Here's my opinion on Jameis Winston. I'm not totally against you.
Okay.
Where I think he can break out. I think when we did our rankings, I had him even higher than you because I think his upside is tremendous because if he succeeds under the Bruce Arians system, he's a perfect quarterback for fantasy football.
I have Winston 8 now. I think I had him on 12 or 13.
Okay, so now you have him higher than me. But either way, I don't have him crazy low and not much lower than you because of everything you said. But what concerns me with Jameis Winston, there's a legitimate chance, and I've said this before, that week 3, the Buccaneers are 0-2, Winston has 9 interceptions, and they just pull the plug on him, and they're like, "We've given you a gazillion chances. We're done."
Yeah.
I mean, there's been sources and Twitter chirps saying that like if Winston doesn't succeed in the first half of the season, he's done. Like they're gonna pull the plug on him, and he's not coming back to. Like they're getting rid of him. They might cut him.
I think the thing for me, really quickly, is that. If you're getting him in the 12th, 13th, in some drafts, he's going undrafted. In mock drafts I could honestly just wait and get him in the 13th round.
Yeah.
If you're waiting that long to get a quarterback, that, hey, he might lose his job 6 weeks into the season. For me, I've talked about streaming quarterbacks as a legitimate way to run your team. So for me, drafting Winston, if he ends up being a top 5 quarterback next year, then I strike gold. If he doesn't, I'm going with my streaming option anyway. So that's kind of the situation for me.
So that I think that's a valid point.
The value is there.
I just looked at his ADP for 12-team half PPR.
Yeah.
He was going in the 9th round.
Yeah.
According to the fantasy football calculator, which is a little higher, but the 10-team had him going in the 11th round.
Right.
So that's a 2-round difference. That's legit. I think if he's going in the 9th round, he's not really a sleeper at that point. I mean, he is a little bit, but it less of a sleeper. But again, if you're getting him in the 11th round, as you said, if you're getting him in the 12th, 13th round,
right,
I think there is a lot of value there and a lot of upside of him he's the ultimate boomer bust guy.
Right. Who do we got next, boss?
Oh, we got Lamar Jackson. So I don't know your opinions on Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I think you know my opinions on Lamar Jackson. I think fantasy-wise, what we saw from him last year was excellent. I think we've seen flashes of maybe a Michael Vick 2.0 for fantasy football. I'm not saying he's going to be that because he can also not really throw the ball that well, as we witnessed in the postseason last year. But I think in drafts right now, in 12-team half PPR, he's going 12th round.
Yeah.
In 10-team, he's going 13th round. So he's a guy that is going very late in drafts, undrafted in some leagues.
Right.
Probably will be undrafted in our league. If you're getting a guy with that kind of upside, I think you take the chance on him. If you're drafting quarterbacks, and this is why I said yes to Jameis Winston, if you're drafting quarterbacks in the final 3 or 4 rounds, and I kind of go by this motto, you want a guy that has immense breakout potential, that can really change the league if it works.
Right.
It changes your team if it works. If it doesn't work, as you said, who cares? You dump them.
Right.
You pick up a quarterback off the waiver wire. Not a big deal. Lamar Jackson has, similar to Winston, bust value.
Right.
But his ceiling is high. It's legit. If he can throw the ball And I know the owner, I think it was the owner, right, that was talking about they want Lamar Jackson to throw the ball more this year.
Right.
If they do that and he succeeds at it, plus the running attack, like he's going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback.
He's top 5.
He'll be top 5 probably.
So here's my problem with Lamar Jackson is that he paced out in the 6 games he started. He paced out at 1,271 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns on 272 attempts. You cannot humanly run the football 272 times with your quarterback. And the Baltimore Ravens have said that they're not going to do that. They're trying to control him. They want to pass it more. My concern is I think he had a 58% completion percentage, and he only prorated out to 2,540 yards and 11 touchdowns with 7 picks. So he has to take an astronomical leap into being able to throw the football a lot better in order to become a top 5 quarterback to me. And I don't think the volume is going to be there for Lamar Jackson. This is why, like for me, I would take Jameis Winston over Lamar Jackson any day, because Jameis Winston can throw the football as well as run the football. He's not going to run it as efficiently as Lamar Jackson
I wouldn't go that far.
He's not going to run it as efficiently as Lamar Jackson would, but at the same time, it's like he's a better passer than Lamar Jackson is, and if you look at the games he started after they benched permanently Ryan Fitzpatrick for Jameis Winston, and he threw at a 64 completion percentage. He was solid and he was good. Good decision maker in this Bruce Arians offense. He can do that. For Lamar Jackson, for me, this year is not going to be the year that I think honest to God in 2020 he could be a massive breakout guy. But it all depends on how well he passes the ball this year.
So you said he needs a massive leap.
Yes.
I don't know if he needs a massive leap. I think he definitely needs to get better, obviously, throwing the football, and you definitely need to see improvement there. I'm not sure if he needs a massive leap, though. He just needs to be a decent thrower of the football, and I think his legs will carry him enough where he gets to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. And I know the workload is going to go down, but even so, he's still going to scramble and run it for a ton of yards and probably a ton of touchdowns. So he does have that bust potential, and I do think he in 2020 could also be a breakout guy. Yeah. But I think honestly this year he could be a breakout guy too.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me because I have him statted out at how many fantasy points? 253, which is 21 among quarterbacks. So it's just, for me, it's going to be tough. If they step him back a lot in terms of how many rushing yards he has, like he's not going to run it 200 times. He might. I mean, who knows? Maybe he gets to
if he does,
if he gets to 1,000 rushing yards. I think the pace that he was on too with rushing touchdowns was just, it was so efficient that it almost is going to take a step back. Like quarterbacks don't rush for 9 touchdowns in a season. It's not something that'll happen. I think the other thing is that they have the benefit of having a really, really good defense. So it'll allow them to be able to do a little bit more. But if they face a team that's high powered, right, like the Chiefs or something like that, they're not going to be able to keep pace. And you're going to see Lamar Jackson make a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes might turn into a situation where they're like, okay, we might even have to move on with this guy. I mean, they did draft a quarterback in the 4th round this year. So I like Lamar Jackson, but I over the last few months, I've had to temper my excitement on Lamar Jackson because you look at those numbers and you think this guy might rush for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. If you rush for 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns, then you could finish in the top 5. I just don't think the passing yards are there. I think there's too many rookie wide receivers. There's not enough
talented rookie wide receivers.
Maybe. Let's move on to the next sleeper. I have Kyler Murray. This isn't interesting. This is Lamar Jackson's legs. And somebody like Kyler Murray can actually throw the football. That's what makes him so, like we talk about, like I said, how Jameis Winston can throw the football, right?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray can really throw the football. He's a better decision maker. I think that's the biggest thing. Is Jameis Winston has an incredible arm. Like, he's a talented quarterback. His decision making is poor. I think that Kyler Murray he's going into a system that he understands more than the guys that are playing in the NFL for 5 seasons right now. So he's going into his own system. He understands, he makes good decisions. He has all the intangibles. I hate to sound like a friggin' scout, but it's true. And he can rush the football. And so it's like you put all those together. Kyler Murray, I kind of look at it like this. Imagine if the Seattle Seahawks used Russell Wilson properly. That's pretty good. That's what Kyler Murray is going to be. Like Russell Wilson, I think he finished 2 years in a row in the top 3. And then last year when they decided to run the football, they didn't utilize him anymore in anything. So I think Kyler Murray, he's going to get that opportunity, especially imagine if they run 90 offensive plays a game, which is what they want to do. That's insane. That would be crazy. I don't think that's humanly possible in the NFL. I mean, they might be able to do it because their defense is bad, but
they just let the team score as soon as possible.
But Kyler Murray he's got upside, he's got opportunity, he's talented. The only thing standing in the way of Kyler Murray is Kyler Murray. Like at this point, and I've never talked about a rookie quarterback like this. Like, even when Baker came in, I love Baker Mayfield, but I didn't expect anything from him. You usually don't expect anything from quarterbacks, but the way Kyler Murray plays the game of football and the fact that he understands his offense more than the NFL players do, it shows me a lot. And if he's able to make this work, then he'll be a very good quarterback, and I think he'll surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I love Kyler Murray too, I think, especially in the future. For this year, I like him more than most rookie quarterbacks in the past.
Yeah.
But to me, he's still a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, what's the ceiling on a rookie quarterback?
Right.
Would you say is it top 5?
No.
Is it top 10?
Yeah. Maybe he could finish 9 or 10.
So he could finish 9 or 10. I don't disagree with that. Is that worth drafting in the late 9th round? Which in a 12-team half PPR, he's going 9. He's flying up boards. He's moving up. In 10-team, he's still a little lower, but he's ahead of Jameis Winston.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think when people, because most people who are mock drafting right now are like us. It's people who are really intense about fantasy football, who are preparing for the season, all that stuff. When you get Joe Schmo who threw $10 in, to his family,
John from accounting.
Yeah, John from accounting. When you get him in your fantasy league and they start mock drafting in August, where is Kyler Murray going to go? Is he going to be obscenely overpriced in the 5th round? Or is he going to be like a 13th, 14th rounder?
Yeah.
Or is he going to be where he is right now in the 9th round? If he's a 9th rounder, he's not going to be on the board for me to take. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the reason why, draft-wise, he probably wouldn't be a sleeper, but he's a sleeper for me in terms of people don't expect rookie quarterbacks to do much in fantasy.
No, but he can.
And he can.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you got to watch out for him. Who do we got next, boss?
We got Jimmy G for MVP. Now, you wanted him on this list, didn't you?
Yeah.
You wanted to put him on your list.
I wanted to, and I actually did just out of
Oh, you did?
I did, just out of respect.
Out of love.
Out of love.
Yeah, that's kind of why I have him on my list too.
No real. Some guys just feel it. Right. There's no real reason as to why.
I do feel it, but there's some. I'm trying my very best to put reason behind it. Okay. So
everyone just shut our podcast off because we said Jimmy G.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo tore his ACL last year in Week 3 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Before that, he was doing okay.
He was meh.
Wasn't through the roof or anything like that. He's now has another year under Kyle Shanahan's system. I think going into last year was considered a sleeper. He was 10th or 11th among quarterback boards.
Right.
So he wasn't crazy high, crazy low, but people were drafting him in the 9th, 10th round. Mm-hmm. So there was some hype, and I think the 49ers only got better this offseason.
Right.
They didn't do anything crazy, but each guy got a year older. They drafted a receiver. They improved their defense. Their whole team is much better this year.
Yeah.
And
except for the receiving core.
Yeah, but they didn't do well with the receiving core. They didn't do anything to hurt it, right?
No.
It was so. Didn't they draft a guy in like the second round?
Yeah.
Who do you remember the guy's name?
Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, so they drafted him.
No,
he went to
the Colts.
They drafted somebody.
Wait, yeah. let me figure it out.
They did draft somebody in the second round.
I could be right.
I think I don't know. I'm not the right guy to ask for that.
Yeah, he's on the 49ers. I had it
okay,
right.
so yeah, and they drafted him in the second round.
Third round, I think.
Oh, did they?
I just got out of it, man.
Wow. Well, you gotta go back.
I literally X'd
Either
out
way,
of it
though,
as soon as
they
you found
added
out. Second round pick 36.
He was
so
a second
basically
round.
a third rounder.
36. So he was basically a first rounder.
It was a compensatory.
Oh, is that how it works? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so 32 teams. He's a second round compensatory.
Okay, that's interesting.
Continue.
So yeah,
we just lost half our audience.
Yes. No, the other half left when I said Jimmy G.
Yeah. So now we got like 10 people.
So Garoppolo, another year under the system.
Yeah.
The overall team getting better. I don't think the ACL is going to bother him because he has a full year to recover. So I think people are sleeping on Garoppolo.
I think people are sleeping on Jimmy G, and rightfully so. He's a good quarterback. I think what he does is actually relatively good, and I think, like, in the 3 games he played, he was throwing it roughly an average of about 29. This is 29.7 times per game, which is about 30, which is good.
That is good.
The efficiency was not there. And what I mean by that is that you throw it 30 times a game, you anticipate that a guy is going to get you 4,000 plus yards. This on a per 16 game basis. Now there's a small sample size of 3 games, but he would only bring you 3,829 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. That is not a bad season. You probably could reduce the interceptions a little bit and add a couple more touchdowns and get him to 4,000 yards. The problem with this is that Jimmy G is not, and some people in fantasy football reject this reality because they don't like running quarterbacks in general, but in fantasy football, rushing statistics are so valuable to the quarterback position. This is why Deshaun Watson, who gives you good, top 15 quarterback numbers,
top 12,
top 12 numbers, but he can also, I think he only threw for 3,800 yards and 26 touchdowns, but he ran a lot. And so for Deshaun Watson, that puts him in another category. That gets him into the top 3. For Jimmy Garoppolo, he doesn't run the football at all. This is prorated out.
He did, and that's how he tore his ACL.
Yeah, this is prorated out at 43 attempts for 160 yards, which is consistent with what he did with the New England Patriots as well. So he doesn't run the football around the field all that much. He's not a rushing quarterback. The problem that I see with this is that he's not going to produce at an extremely high level passing the football. What I mean by that is that Patrick Mahomes, a lot of people would be like, "Oh my God, he's a running quarterback." He's not. If you go look at his numbers, he's not.
I don't think anybody thinks
he had 350. He had 400 fantasy points in some leagues. If you have a 6-point touchdown, he had a lot of fantasy points. And he was very good. But the reason why he got there is because he could throw 5,000 yards. That's step 1 to having a good fantasy season in the NFL without the rushing statistics, is throwing for 5,000 yards. Yeah. I don't know if Jimmy G can do that this year. The other part of it is throwing 35 to 40 touchdowns. And I don't know if Jimmy can do that this year either.
I'm not sure if
I think he'll have a great quarterback season for the 49ers in the NFL. But I don't think he can put up 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns.
Does he have to be Patrick Mahomes though?
He doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes.
So So he's the 21st ranked quarterback right now, I believe, or the 20th according to I think it was it Fantasy Pros?
I have him ranked 17.
So you have him ranked 17. A lot of people have him ranked around the 20 mark.
Yeah.
I think that's getting slept on a little bit. I do. I don't think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's going to throw 5,000 yards. I don't think he's going to be
a Patrick Mahomes either, obviously. And I don't think he's going to be bad. I just don't know how many.
I could easily see him being around 9th, 8th, 7th, in that range, just because of his good passing season. And I think he's going to run it. So I think he runs it a little bit more than what you're saying, but you're right. He's not really a running quarterback.
No.
He does scramble though. So, that could turn into rushing yards, but...
Do you want to hear what I have been projected for statistic-wise?
Sure.
And I'll just throw out the numbers and see if you agree with it or not.
Okay.
So I have him at 4,400 passing yards.
Okay.
Over under.
That's like actually pretty accurate. I'll just say over just for the heck of it.
I have him at 29.6 or 30 touchdowns.
Again, pretty accurate. I'll just go over though for the heck of it, but very slightly.
14 touchdowns. I mean, 14 interceptions.
Slightly under.
And then I have him at. Hold on a second. I clicked the wrong button. I have him at a little less on the rushing statistics than he had last year. I probably should boost that up, but I'll put him right around like 150 yards rushing.
Okay.
That sticks him right around 285 to 290 fantasy points, which is, in my projections, probably like a QB 7 or 8 finish. So to me, if you're not getting a quarterback in the top 5, then you're probably just streaming quarterbacks in general. If you have like a number 8 quarterback in the rankings, it's not bad, but it's also not good. Like if you're in a 10-team league, 10 teams own quarterbacks, and you own the 8th worst. That's the way I look at it.
But I'm not saying Garoppolo's. I haven't said Garoppolo's gonna be like a top 3 quarterback, but if you're drafting Garoppolo in the final round of the draft and he's getting ranked 20th, and he turns out
I gave him love statistics too, like that.
He turns out to be like the 7th ranked quarterback.
Yeah,
I think that's a win.
Yeah, you're doing all right. I mean, it's not going to get you that 17 fantasy points a game. You know what I mean? Like, does that put you at where you want to be at quarterback on your fantasy team?
Yes, if I'm drafting,
like
in the 15th round.
If you're drafting Jimmy Garoppolo, I honestly think he's probably going to go undrafted. I mean, there'll be some stupid idiot in every league that's going to take Jimmy Garoppolo that takes him not in the 6th round. There's going to be somebody that takes him in every draft, but I don't know. For me, the reason why I'm not drafting him is because I don't see, like, he has to throw, for me, in order to have a really good fantasy season, which is 300 or more fantasy points to get into the top 5. He's going to have to throw for 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns.
Or I think the running numbers can be boosted a little bit.
You can give him a little bit more on the running numbers, but even that, he doesn't rush for touchdowns. So to me, he's not getting, like, if you want to say, okay, he gets 300 rushing yards. That's like 15 more fantasy points. It's not really going to
Which would boost him up to 300 in your rankings, wouldn't it?
Sort of, kind of.
Your projections. So
that would get him to 90. 290, I mean. So I don't see that happening, though. And that's my thing, is that for Jimmy G, here's the way I look at it, is that it's all about ceiling for me. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have as high a ceiling as a guy like Jameis Winston or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have that high ceiling.
I think he's got a higher ceiling than Kyler Murray for this year.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. But I just don't think, because I think he relies solely on the passing numbers. It is harder to do that. Now, I could be very wrong. If he throws for 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns,
I don't think he's out. And this is coming from the biggest Garoppolo fan in the world. I don't think he's throwing 5,000.
So if that doesn't happen, then he's going to be a good fantasy quarterback, probably finish in the top 8. He'll be, decent, but I don't know. He's not a guy with his ceiling for me being 7 or 8. I don't know if I can justify taking him I could justify taking him or getting him off the waiver wire. Like, if he ends up on the waiver wire all season, I'll probably stream him against good matchups. But like, I don't see him as a guy that I stick on my team and hope he breaks out. That type of thing. But I do agree with you. He is a sleeper after all that disagreement.
I tried to make my best case for a case that really didn't exist.
You did decent. Let's move on to 5. Josh Allen.
We both love this dude.
He is, so there are 2 guys that I think are going to break out this year. Jameis Winston and Josh Allen. We'll do a show on breakouts, and I just gave you half my quarterbacks. So, but I do really like Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is a guy who has I think it was a report I read, the quarterback coach or the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills said Josh Allen's problem is not accuracy, it's decision making. And so I think for him, that offensive line blows. Let's start with that.
Yeah, it does.
That offensive line is really bad. And so they made some improvements in the offseason. We'll see if they pan out. But if you can keep Josh Allen upright, I think that's the main reason why he makes bad decisions, because he
Panics.
He panics. If you can control the panic and you can get him to make better decisions, he is an accurate quarterback, and he's going to be a success. I think, he has the intangibles and the ability to, and the talent,
especially
to throw
fantasy
the football.
wise.
Especially fantasy wise. So for me, if he can get a decent amount of fantasy points through the air, and then add what he does on the ground into that, like, he is literally the closest thing to Lamar Jackson that you can get on our sleeper list. As far as rushing statistics goes, he could rush for 700 yards and 5 touchdowns reasonably, and that's just how Josh Allen. He's like you said, he panics.
Yeah.
So the panic either turns into Cam Newton running the football, or you know what I mean, anything else, or an interception. So I like Josh Allen for that very reason. I think the end of the season last year, I was when I saw him, late in the season, getting. I think it was week 15, he had 30 points. Week 16, he had 35 to 40. He had 2 huge games in a row. And I was I just saw the 2 huge games, and I was like, wow, this guy's a stud. And then after the season was over, I went and looked at his numbers, and I was like, oh my God. He did that basically only because of his rushing statistics.
Yeah.
Because he threw 200 yards and 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and it was that's a terrible game for a quarterback. But then you look at his rushing numbers, and it was 2 touchdowns on the ground and 150 yards, and it's just you add that on top. Rushing quarterbacks are so valuable in fantasy football. People bypass them all the time, including myself.
Yes.
I don't like that style of play in the NFL, but
fantasy-wise
is brilliant. It's something that you have to keep your eye on. If a guy can run the football, he's going to turn out to be generally good. If he's decent at throwing the football and doesn't lose his job, Jameis Winston, they can definitely be that guy.
Yeah.
And I think Josh Allen has the ability to throw for 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns in a season and have a good quarterback year, as well as do that 500-yard, 4 or 5 touchdown season. If he does that, the guy's going to be at 325, 350 fantasy points and finish in the top 3. I'm not projecting that for him, but I do see him as a sleeper this year.
Oh,
a
absolutely.
guy that you can get. Some drafts he's going completely undrafted. I can give you the ADP right now.
Yeah. I know Fantasy Pros has him ranked 19th.
Right now he's going in round 11.
Okay.
Late,
I think
12 is usually.
Yeah, he's going in round 12 in I think it was half PPR in 10 teams.
Yeah.
So 11th, 12th round, 13th round, and in some leagues he will go undrafted. I agree with you on Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He is, like you said, similar to Lamar Jackson, but he probably is better at throwing the ball. I think Lamar Jackson is, over the course of a full season, will be better at running the ball. And I think that's just why I have him as slightly ahead right now, but both guys are very close. Josh Allen has top 7 quarterback ceiling this year for fantasy football, I think.
I have Josh Allen ranked 9 right now, and I really want to rank him ahead of Baker Mayfield. But
wow, I wouldn't. I'm not doing that.
I can't do that.
I'm not doing that. But
Baker,
you hate.
I don't.
What happened? He was your boy.
Baker is my boy, and I hope he has a great season. But I don't feel like he's gonna have. He's got too much expectation on him to be really good. The hype is way too much. Okay. He should be. I would be all over him if he was a 9th or 10th round quarterback. But right now, he's a 5th round, 4th round quarterback that people are taking way too early. I'm staying away from that hot mess completely.
I'm all in on it.
Oh boy. We have one more guy for the taking. A little addition before the show. Rick, give us the final guy. I don't agree with this whatsoever.
I just enjoy saying his name just to see your face.
I don't want to even
pretty much the only reason I had him on this list.
I did no research on this guy, by the way.
So here is remember, we're talking about sleepers.
Okay.
A guy that everybody's sleeping on. Kirk Cousins.
He's ranked. He said it.
He's currently ranked 21 at Fantasy Pros.
Okay.
He's going undrafted in almost every single league. This is the same guy going into last season. Was the 5th or 6th ranked quarterback.
Okay.
In every league. Now, he had a bad year, obviously, and there's a very good chance he has another bad year. Neither of us are major fans of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance he has another bad year, and it's done for him.
Right.
There's also a chance that he gets another year under that offense.
Right.
And he realizes, I have Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, Dalvin Cook on my team. We can actually be a really talented offense.
Yep.
And takes a jump. People are sleeping on him. People aren't drafting this guy. And this guy should be getting drafted in leagues. He has the amount of talent is around him.
I'll stream him.
Okay. I'm not saying to draft him high. Believe me. Don't do that.
So for me, here's the situation that you have is that I think Kirk Cousins, his ceiling, let me give you just some numbers. These are not something that I projected, but I'll just throw these numbers out. Over under 4,200 passing yards.
I think it would be right there, but I'll say under.
Over under 30 passing touchdowns.
I might. Again, close.
That's a lot. There's a lot there, but
you know what?
Yeah.
Over.
Stop. Over under 10 interceptions.
Probably over, but is Kirk Cousins? Isn't he kind of a conservative type quarterback?
Yes.
10 though.
10's probably right around where he finished next year. And then he averages 2.823 running attempts a game at 7 yards a carry. That's like at the end of the season about 120 rushing yards or something. So he's in that same category where I disagree with you. People, I mean, I agree with you that people are sleeping on him, but I think that's probably
he shouldn't be
for a good reason. To me, here's the thing. When you're drafting a quarterback and you're expecting them to break out, you're not drafting a guy who's 30 years old and hoping who's had plenty of opportunity in his career. He's not a bad quarterback. He puts up good quarterback numbers, and he's actually a streamable option. If he's if he's against a good matchup
absolutely.
for me, I'm 100%. Definitely 100% going after him. And I think people are sleeping on him in the fact that, he probably should be drafted. But at the same time, it's like, how many years in a row can the guy do this? You know what I mean? And I'm not sure.
Wasn't he
possible.
2 years ago a top 6 fantasy quarterback, top 7?
I can check.
I'm pretty sure I think his last year at Washington, he was pretty high up. I see where you're coming from. This is why Kirk Cousins isn't very high on my list.
Yep.
But I think he was overhyped last year. What is it?
Nothing.
Okay, all right.
Year. Kirk Cousins is on this list.
Yeah. He was getting overhyped last year.
Yeah.
But this year, not a single soul is talking about him. People forgot he existed.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is
he finished 6th in 2017.
Yeah. So he has done it before. And he was on Washington in 2017, wasn't he?
He was number 5 in 2016.
Wow.
Hold on a second. Moving up the board.
Here we go. People are sleeping. People are sleeping.
Number 8 in 2015.
I'm
going to keep going backwards.
Come on.
Keep going backwards.
Give it to me.
Stop.
Give it to me.
He loves it. That was it. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. Kirk
That's
Cousins.
still 3 years in a row. Top 10 finish.
He ranked. He was 78. I don't even know.
People are sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think he could finish because last year, where did he finish? He was 11, something like that. He wasn't bad. I get those numbers I just gave you were last year's statistics for him.
Was it really? The
Yes.
4,200 yard?
Yeah.
Why is the hype so low?
He was QB 13 last year, 282.
Why is the hype so low?
Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe it's because he's 30 years old and he blows.
Wow, that was mean.
No, he's actually a pretty good quarterback. I don't think. Here's my thing: is that he's thrown over 30 touchdowns once in his career.
His ceiling isn't
the other. So in
crazy
2015,
high,
the first year he was a full-time starter, he threw 29 touchdowns. The following season after that, he threw 25. This year, I think you could see the same thing happening where he gets 26, 27, 28 touchdowns instead, and then he gets right around 4,200 yards, somewhere in that category. I think the year where he finished, 2016, where he finished top 5, that was a 5,000-yard, 25 touchdown year. 4,917 for the truthers out there who will attack me for that.
He threw 5,000 yards?
No, 4,917.
Essentially 5,000 yards.
Yeah.
That's
and then 25 touchdowns, which decreased that total. Now, had he thrown 10 more touchdowns, you would have had a different conversation. But he is a decent quarterback, good streamable option. I do think people are sleeping on him. Am I drafting Kirk Cousins? No. This is the way that I look at late rounds. And I think for me, it's more or less if you're drafting a quarterback in the late round, you're getting a guy like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson,
so
Jameis Winston.
What if all those guys are off the board? Though?
I'm going if they're off like out of the draft entirely.
Yeah. What if
I'm not going to let that happen?
It's okay, wow. Okay, Kyrie.
I'm gonna take one of those guys at least. If they're all three of them run free, I'll just bench.
But like, let's theoretically
say
you're sitting there at the end of the draft. You're going with our strategy. You want to get a sleeping quarterback late in the draft, and every single guy we've talked about is gone. Does Kirk Cousins become an option?
There's no way in society that Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jameis Winston, and Jimmy G got taken in the same draft.
I don't know. There's some. I mean. I gave you the numbers. I gave you the numbers. These guys, every guy we've talked about is getting drafted.
So let's just say 15. I hate to get stuck on this, but because we're gonna end the show. But I'm gonna say that 15 quarterbacks get drafted. Okay. So Mahomes gonna get drafted.
Yes.
Matt Ryan will get drafted.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger probably will get drafted.
I think there's gonna be more than 15.
Deshaun Watson will get drafted. Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Drew Brees. Definitely going to get drafted.
Yep.
Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott will get drafted.
See, I don't know.
Dak Prescott's going to get drafted. Trust me.
I don't know. I don't know.
There is Cowboy fans out there.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Depends on your league. Depends on your league, but I'd say.
Let me give you the ADP on Dak. Yeah. I just want to see what it is. It's 12th round right now.
So it's lower than the guys we've talked about, except for Garoppolo.
Yeah, and I'm not drafting Dak. I would put him on the sleeper list. But Phillip Rivers will not get drafted. I don't think that. He finished 11. Cam Newton will be drafed. Kirk Cousins finished 13. He was in the top 15. He's not going to get drafted most likely. Tom Brady's going to get drafted obscenely high.
No.
Some idiot is going to draft
Todd Gurley. Smart people won't draft Tom Brady.
Yes, us.
Wow.
And the people who listen to this podcast. Trubisky probably won't get drafted. Baker's going to get drafted. I just think if there's 15 to 17 quarterback, how many teams take 2 quarterbacks?
Depends on your league, but some teams take 3.
That's crazy.
Some teams take 3.
I'm staying very far away from that. But you look at guys like Josh Allen, Jameis Winston, and some of the guys we listed. Some of these guys aren't even going to get drafted. And so for me, it's like, If Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jameis Winston, Kyler Murray, Jimmy G, all the guys,
it's a theoretical situation, bro.
We're thinking theoretically, but if I was sitting there and all 20 quarterbacks got drafted,
no, not 20, not 20,
20 quarterbacks.
Let's say 17, and this is the 14th round, and you want to draft a quarterback, and 17 are off the board.
I would take Derek Carr over.
Okay,
Kirk Cousins.
So essentially, no. Is pretty much what you're saying.
A lot of people just unsubscribed. I would take Derek Carr over Kirk Cousins.
Derek Carr was also
the Kirk Cousins truthers. For me, it's nothing against Kirk Cousins. It's just it's a 30-year-old quarterback thing. It's the his age is not going to
Derek Carr
his
like a 30-year-old
something like that. He's 28, I think. But I think for Kirk Cousins, more or less like I know Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Jameis Winston, those guys are going to be on the board, and I'm going to draft them. Like I'm going to find a way to make it happen. I'm not going to be sitting there putting myself into a position where I get to the 13th round and all of those guys are taken. If you are in a draft and those guys are taken obscenely early, and it's like there's like a 10 pick run on quarterbacks in the 9th round.
That's going to happen in leagues.
Maybe I'll take. That's
probably going to happen in our league.
I'll just draft a running back and go quarterback. Listen. I just don't think it's necessary to draft Kirk Cousins if he's not even going to be drafted.
I was just asking you the question. Bro.
All right.
I was just curious.
Well, that'll do it for our QB sleepers. The little last one there, I didn't agree with, but that's all right. Be sure to listen on Thursday as we talk about the tight end sleepers for 2019. Go over our top 5, 6, or 7, whatever we get to. For 2019, lots of different names on there. Some surprising, some not so surprising. You got any closing thoughts for us, boss?
Okay, here's the deal.
Oh no! Every week, every
if
every
you
episode.
Don't believe me and you don't take Jimmy G, your season's gonna be just like the 49ers last year. 3 wins max.
Talk to you Thursday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.